Welcome, dear being, and thank you for your interest in exploring this beloved within journey that I've mapped out. My name is Amoraea. I'm grateful for your curiosity to sense what might be here in what I call Evolutionary Tantra. Now, for 25 years, my focus has been on teaching how to become an integrated, multidimensional being, fully awake to one's soul nature, fully in service as an active instrument of the divine. And what that really means is as having a lucid love of life that marries the earth and the heaven through our very presence alone, and endeavoring through our every act to be on purpose, to be on fire for life, to be infused with passion. And I've called this by many names over the years of my sharing, but I always relate to what I teach as a form of Tantra. Now, in this Beloved Within training and these retreats, I turn directly towards teaching classical frameworks of Tantra, which I've personally studied since 1997, because Tantra offers the revolution and the synthesis in consciousness needed right now that embraces life intensely as it is, without filters. Now, the reason why Tantra, distinctly on this incredible journey in our present timeline on the planet, is so important, because we're living in an age of increasing paradox, and this is requiring us more and more to be able to collapse the dualities that are so imminent around us, and for us to emerge as, I might say, a lover, midwife, warrior, servant, an impassioned being to make a change, and to, well, just to not be eaten alive by the forces of energy and chaos stirring on the planet more each day. And so I believe Tantra in its true vibrant form, which is ever-changing according to the times, which is not dogmatic. Tantra by its very nature is showing things like how outdated and rigid many religions and spiritual traditions are. And it cuts clearly through to the most accessible pathway for lucidly staying awake while the world crumbles, of how to inquire into the nature of the self in a way that brings somatic depth and presence, brings a felt sense, intuitive grounding into the body and through all the senses, yet it's very transcendent at the same time. Transcendent of the egoic addiction to the senses that currently rule the planet. And for me, Tantra brought a profound and dynamic way to engage life 100%. So in my path around the age of 20, it began a process and a way to dissolve the dualities that would otherwise have kept me trapped in my mind and in my, emotional reactions. So it provided for me a way of complete freedom that also requires me to let go of my attachment to the idea of freedom itself, because I think everybody has an idea of wanting to be free, but Tantra penetrates beyond the concepts, beyond all concepts in general, really, and it provides a way to radically awaken to the naked reality of the moment, which is absolutely pure, and in a sense it thrusts you towards pure being without boundaries, without judgments, and it connects you to the eternal aspect of who you truly are, which is your soul. So bringing it back to me, it was truly a way to touch the core of who I am beyond all my ego masks and my identities. And because once you stabilize in the truth of your eternal soul, then you are free to still play with roles, to enjoy the dance of life, right? We have to show up in many forms in life. It kind of requires us to put on roles, but so many people get stuck and then they start to identify with that role. So how do you live from desire and passion and yet do it without attachment? And this is a huge piece. It's a huge teaching and a gift of Tantra, which acknowledges that all desire has a pure origin, but then it's tainted by the ego. So you can trace every desire back to its primal, a more primal desire in each human heart and in the universe itself, actually, which is to merge with the supreme reality, which is love, which is God, which is the divine. So for me, such an all-encompassing journey Tantra is, this profound, scintillatingly fresh, vivid, sensitized to the moment, something beyond you, yet keeps you so in touch with your own essence, uniquely encoded. So why do I have this passion to teach Tantra specifically? Because the more I've lived from these essential principles, the quicker I've been able to shift reactive patterns of my ego that really rule most people, most of their day, every day. And so I see what it's done for me and how I actually can still embrace my ego with compassion and learn how to return back to my original innocence and freedom at the same time, much quicker. So Tantra is really accessible. I mean, there might seem this kind of abstractness to it if you look at the old teachings. You know, it might be like, I don't quite understand this. Or you look at Red Tantra and you're like, really? Is that what Tantra is? But Tantra is accessible to everyone. And because it's non-religious and non-dogmatic, it's not a strict sense of this is how you do it and this is the result you'll get. No, it's actually, I mean, it's a path of the times that's universal. I'd call it more of a psychology framework and a science even, which really yoga is a true scientific exploration more than a religion. You ask any yogi that, and they will say that. They've transcended the system out of which it birthed from. When you forget yourself, you have now a way where you don't judge, you simply go immediately back to remembering who you are at your core essence. That's a profound gift. Tantra provides this kind of direct access to your core essence, your spiritual origin, your true self, your God nature. So you can easily return to it when the waves of the ego arise and they rise up again, because they do. You know, eventually your ego rises up less and less and you stabilize in your divine identity. And reality starts feeling like a waking dream and you're free to dance through it all. How extraordinary would that be if you had that more often? I know most of you have tasted something of that. What you're really tasting ultimately is that it's not even you anymore that's having the dream. You're not just a character in it. This is you realizing the universe becoming aware of itself through you, the universe dancing through you, the universe making love through you, blissfully aware through you. And that surrendering into the totality of being itself, not just the totality of your being. If it's total, it means of being itself. This ability to surrender moment by moment, perpetually, makes life the most extraordinary adventure. It's the most sacred and embodied prayer. That's what life becomes. It becomes a mystical love affair, a never-ending journey of freedom, and an ever-expanding greater and greater perfection, which is the power of this process, is it's never static. It's always saying, okay, you think you figured it out, you think that you got to that nice still place and you're in flow. It's like, surrender more, and even more freedom awaits. So who wouldn't want that? I mean, you just don't know it yet, that the taste of this becomes 1,000 times more fulfilling than the small pleasures you used to seek. So I want to show people that this kind of life is possible, especially in an age of extreme paradox and of chaos. And what could we say? Of looming uncertainty, what I hear from people, a sense of doom, of stress, right? So Tantra doesn't deny any of this. Like, clearly something's happening on the planet that is alarming and demanding our attention. And so it doesn't say that's all illusion, just jump over it or transcend it. No, rather it actually makes you even more intensely present with the apparent dualities of life. The apparent duality, you know, you learn how to intensely embrace the present moment through embracing the wholeness of the self that's always there behind the chaos. Well, so how to fully inhabit the now means, and what that looks like is different in every nanosecond, but this makes you so lucid of what life is calling forth from you in your highest. You know, you might cry even more tears of grief for those you love, for your own being smashed on the rocks, your own ego from the crashing waves of life, you know, but they will be tears of compassion. They will be tears of tenderness and acceptance as you melt back into the divine's all-loving embrace. You'll watch and wonder as your ego dies again and again to whatever you may still be attached to that is causing any of your suffering. So this lucid ability to see things as they are, to see yourself from multiple perspectives and not get caught in the what they call myopic vision, to the tunnel vision of the ego. You will be able to see the nature of suffering for what it is, and you'll look at it straight in the eyes, and you'll penetrate through it, and you'll find love staring back at you. So many people who come to Tantra are drawn in by the aspect of creating more intimacy in their relationships. This is wonderful. Intimate relationships have the potential for astoundingly accelerated transformation and spiritual evolution. Yes, I think if you haven't touched and tasted that yet, you've felt that that's true. So, but because it's the blossoming seed at the center of everyone's heart, we know that is possible. And Tantra reveals quite lucidly, first, how many karmic imprints and patterns and wounds and belief systems inhibit that extraordinary potential of sacred union, of divine partnership. And we all have subconscious scripts that dictate our relationship dynamics, that influence how we perceive and interact with and respond to our partners especially. So to fully commit and evolve your relationship, you have to identify the areas where your self-love falls short, where your codependency manifests, where jealousy and insecurity arise, and so much more, right? So that's such a huge layer of what Tantra does. It just shows you quite clearly and with compassion those aspects inhibiting your sacred union partnership that I think almost all of us long for. Now, you also have to have your own kundalini switched on, which is, what could we say, the profound evolutionary current of energy that activates the full body experience of blissful union that runs through each person. And in a sense, it's your energy body that has to be cultivated to experience a really strong sense of self. And you have to sit deep in the fires of your own transmutation first. That's what Tantra is really showing. And that's why 90% of true authentic Tantra is the cultivation of the self. So if your motivation to learn Tantra, if you've come here and your motivation was to become a better lover, or to awaken your Kundalini energy, to activate your sexual capacities, then you may have missed the mark of what Tantra really is. And even if you came primarily to cultivate a better relationship with your partner, which is a noble desire, you still may have missed the essence of what Tantra is. And so knowing that these are beautiful things to desire, but they have to be married to an even more intense desire to completely wake up, to become your own radiant expression of your highest self. This is the pursuit, or the goalless goal, they might say, because look, few who enter relationship bring it to the evolutionary potential as the original Tantra path maps out. It's a rare soul who, in a sense, enters the path of relationship already cleansed of their projections and their agendas. But that's what Tantra offers. So what I teach is not red Tantra or neo-Tantra, both which have a primary emphasis on sexual intimacy, on pleasure enhancement, on gender alchemy. It's important to note that true classical Tantra, the real soul of Tantra, and the modality that I've created called Evolutionary Tantra, it includes sexual intimacy and couples work, but is based on a much larger essential foundation of self-cultivation, of consciousness itself, and of fully turning on one's own awakened essence. So, back to relationship, and how projections and agendas really rule us through these kind of subconscious scripts. For instance, the part of us that says and acts from the place of, my good feelings about who I am stem from being loved by you, right? Of receiving approval from you. We have to see the scripts that might be saying, your struggles affect my sense of serenity and peace and well-being, or my attention focuses on solving your problems and relieving your pain, or pleasing you. We have to see those kind of invisible beings back here who are kind of running the show, the ones who say, my fear of rejection and your anger determine what I say and do, right? Or the part of us that says, I use giving to you as a way of feeling safe in our relationship, right? I put my values aside in order to stay safely connected with you. Do any of these ring a bell in your own subtle scripts when you get into a relationship? You do so well when you're alone, perhaps, but then these things, start to actually act and subtly run the show. The part of us that values the opinion of our partner and values their way of doing things more than we value our own. So giving examples of how Tantra distills these programs, brings them to emptiness. And emptiness is actually a huge part of what Tantra is. And I won't get into that now, but our ability to dissolve everything including dogma, systems, structures, rules, is a huge element of your freedom that continually sweeps away the egoic constructs. Now, because Tantra is so free of structures and systems and rules, it's also become very misunderstood and easily abused. Or actually, it actually can create more bondage, what's being taught as Tantra, more bondage than freedom because of watered down versions of it, taught by those who are not actually awakened to the fullness of their own being yet. And so they're teaching from their own lens of distortion, right? Or they're teaching from the distorted version of the second chakra aspect of beings. And so a red Tantra or sexual Tantra emphasis becomes what is being taught. So Tantra is such a vast, like, reality busting, boundary dissolving, rule breaking way of approaching life that brings an intense awareness of everything you do and how you experience life. So I've given just a taste here of its potential applications, and there's so much more, from its concepts to its profound techniques, that it will continually transform your relationship to self, to life, to God, to your partner, to the planet, to humanity, and an experience of what reality is at the ultimate level. You know, it's like from the micro to the macro, it continuously transforms your relationship to everything. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and the audio meditation and the ebook that comes with these free gifts if you've entered in through this portal of the 3 gifts. And if you've watched this video without the audio and the ebook linked to it, please click on the link in the video description to access them. And I hope we have more opportunities to explore together, and through whether it's one of my trainings or retreats or my social media platforms where I offer more free videos and valuable free content. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.